Hello, I'm Andrew Wood and I'm going to be teaching financial markets and quantitative business analysis as part of the Lauder Business School online MBA. And I wanted to give a brief introduction to myself and also some insight of the sorts of things that I'll be teaching as part of the course. In terms of my background, it's quite extensive. I worked for many years in industry and I'm hoping to bring that experience to my teaching at Lauder Business School. I worked for 6 years in chartered accountancy at Price Waterhouse. I was in auditing and also training. I then moved into the food and beverage industry at PepsiCo and Kraft in a variety of finance roles, financial controller for Eastern Europe, CFO of Europe, Middle East, Africa, and I ended up as CEO of Nabisco's Southern European business before a complete career change when I became a Wall Street analyst. I moved to New York and I worked at Bernstein Research for 19 years in New York and in Singapore, bringing my industry experience onto Wall Street. I retired from Wall Street 2 years ago and decided to dedicate the rest of my career to passing on some of my experience in teaching, and I was delighted to accept a role at Lauder Business School teaching the Masters course and obviously now teaching at the online MBA. The 3 courses I teach at Lauder Business School are Introduction to Asset Management and Investing, Quantitative Business Analysis and Portfolio Management Simulation. And my idea is to incorporate all 3 courses into the MBA course to look at the major strategic aspects and major takeaways as part of the online MBA course. Now, I want to give you some insight into the sorts of things that I'll be teaching in the course. And I'm going to start with 4 pillars of success, which is not something you're going to see in any textbook because it's my own proprietary analysis, something I developed originally in industry and then significantly developed in Wall Street to look at companies and look at investment theses. And the 4 pillars of success are looking at, in detail, sustainable top-line growth of a company, its operating effectiveness, its cash generation and how they're using it, are they using it sensibly, and also looking at the quality of management, bringing that all together to analyse a business. Now, a very important aspect of the course is the outputs that the students will deliver. And I wanted to deliver 4 outputs that students will be providing and producing as part of this course. Firstly, they'll be preparing a report calculating and explaining the total shareholder return of an investment in Nestlé over 5 years. Secondly, they'll be preparing a report again on Nestlé, reviewing and understanding their quarterly and half-yearly and full-yearly reporting. Then they'll be doing a presentation on constructing an equity portfolio, and finally a presentation preparing and presenting a stock pitch. And I thought I would give you a little bit more insight into what I mean by the work on stock pitches by answering 5 questions about stock pitching: what, why, when, which and how. Now, the what is, well, it's a presentation, either oral or written, that argues for buying or selling or continuing to hold an investment. The why is to pitch an idea or explain a holding to an investor or a portfolio manager or a client, or indeed a recruiter, because these are used a lot in interview processes, and also obviously now as part of the master's thesis. When? Well, when requested or when given the opportunity. Sometimes it's a specific stock you're requested to pitch, but mostly it is a result of your ideas, your research and your own analysis. How? Well, it can vary. It could be a 1-page summary, it could be an 8 to 10-page presentation, or indeed it could be a 30 to 60-minute presentation in a lot of detail about the company. And to give you some insight about the 8 to 10-page version, this is a model for a stock pitch, which I explain in detail to the students. I request that they give an overall summary in 4 to 6 bullet points of why the investment should be made, some detail on the company, a lot of detail on the investment thesis, supporting the recommendation, explaining why the investment makes sense, and also explaining what the market and other investors might be missing that the student is not. Then talking a lot about valuation, both relative and absolute, and we'll be covering valuation a lot in the course. Moving on to catalysts and risks, what might go right, what might go wrong, and then coming back to an overall summary as well. And in 8 to 10 pages, you can provide a very impressive pitch for a stock. And these are 8 pitches that students have made on my course in the last few months. Various companies, Nike, Shell, UPS, Johnson & Johnson, Nvidia, Banco Santander, T-Mobile, Caterpillar. This is the front page. Behind this, again, there were 8 to 10 pages explaining the theses, and each of the students stood up and presented that to the whole cohort. So these are some ideas of what we are going to be covering in the course. I'm hoping it's very practical, and I'll be giving you much more detail again at a later date. Thank you very much.